I'm AJ Toft.
And hi, I'm Harry Masterson.
And we are the voices of Darts World Weekly podcast. But we're not just a podcast, we are a magazine as well. And we've got the latest issue out, issue 586, with all your regular columnists plying their trade and putting their words to page. But we've also got some special write-ups about the prodigies of darts.
Absolutely, there's lots of stuff in the brand new magazine. Of course, the article about the Premier Prodigies, there's also exclusives in there with Natalie Gilbert, Adam Warner as well, and obviously there's also stuff in terms of the Luke Littler winning the Premier League. Of course, there's so much stuff to get involved with, and what you're waiting for, go check out the brand new issue now.
Yes, get on the website or get where you get your favourite magazine from. Alright, cockers, it's another episode of the Darts World Weekly podcast. And on this week's show we discuss the Nordic Darts Masters and the Challenge Tour. Plus we'll discuss the England Open and the British Pentathlon and the MODUS Super Series. Plus another snippet from the profile. And we'll see what's on the open road in your area. Let the Tom and Jerry of Darts World do all the work for you. It's Harry and AJ. Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the Darts World Weekly podcast. My name's AJ Toft.
And my name is Harry Masterson.
And how are we doing this week?
Very good, AJ. Of course, the darts is not stopping. We continue to see all these fantastic stories going about every single day. And in this episode, we're going to go through the latest action.
Yes, and what place to start than the World Series Nordic Darts Masters event? So a great weekend in wonderful Copenhagen and wonderful performance by Gerwyn Price.
Indeed, it was sort of a case of righting the wrongs of the week before at the US Darts Masters. He obviously reached the final where he faced Rob Cross and just fell short in that game. I think he was ahead all match and then lost in the final, but comes into Copenhagen, plays against Rob Cross, I should say, again in the final, but this time he wasn't going to make that same mistake, and he's got his first title of the year.
Yeah, it seems weird. I mean, he's been playing well, and obviously, Luke Littler's been taking most of the headlines, but Gerwyn Price is still performing at a very high level and deservedly wins this event.
I think I said to you when the Premier League ended that Price actually did play really well in the Premier League campaign, despite not finishing as high as he would have wanted. The stats actually were in his favor. However, he just wasn't getting the look of the green in terms of getting over the winning line, and over in Copenhagen it sort of went the other way for him. He was producing the numbers that we've seen him produce time and time again, and this time it did go his way, and in my opinion it was a rightful winner.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at the other performances in the World Series. You had Peter Wright, the only one of the Premier League eights, as we call him, losing to Johan Erstorm. And he performed really well in his match against Luke Humphries, even though the scoreline doesn't show that. I was watching that game closely, and he wasn't scared or intimidated by the scoring power of Luke Humphries.
I think he would have known going into that game as well that Luke Humphries, you know what you're going to get. Like, at the end of the day, he's going to throw these 180s, 140s at you. But it's a case of, for Engstrom, it was a case of whenever that chance does present itself, I've got to take it. And he did do that on one occasion. But unfortunately, Luke Humphries has also worked on his doubling as well, which is why he wins so much now, because he's also got the finishing ability as well as the fantastic scoring power. And when you've got a player that does that against you, the chances are you're probably not going to get as much of the luck as you would want.
No,
as many
no,
chances.
exactly. You can have a really good part A of your game or a really good part B, but if you're putting A and B together and it's, you're getting both ends of the stick, unfortunately, you're not going to come out the winning end.
No, but I think one thing that he can take away from this weekend is the fact that he did get that win. He did beat Peter Wright in the first match, and beating one of the PDC All Stars in these World Series events is something that you can take away, and it's a good experience for him as well. Got two matches on the stage, and I'm sure with what's still to come later this year, with the possible routes of a qualifying spot at the Ali Pali as well, he can certainly build on that.
Absolutely. And looking at the top of the World Series standings at the moment, I mean, with the win, Gerwin Price is currently top of the table. Second place, Luke Littler, then Rob Cross, Michael Van Gerwen, Luke Humphreys at fifth, Michael Smith, Nathan Aspinall, Peter Wright. That's your top eight. Obviously, they're playing in most of the events. But if you look at number nine, you've got Gene Van Veen, Stephen Bunton at 10, Johan propels himself into 11th, and with his performance in New York, Jeff Smith is in 12th.
Exactly, and it just goes to show that the wins in these World Series events they will mean something because there is the World Series of Darts finals coming up later this year, and obviously the better performance you have in these competitions now, the higher the chances are that you qualify for the finals later this year. And again, Luke Littler and Michael Van Gogh, you mentioned, are in the top eight. I think they both missed out this weekend, but
Yes.
they will be returning to Poland over the weekend for the Poland Darts Masters. I think Gerwin Price is actually not playing in that. But as you said, his ranking at the minute, he is top. There's no need to play every single tournament, and there's still more World Series events to come later on with the trip down under to Australia and New Zealand for those events as well.
Yes, and certain players are going to be in there like Damon Heta and Simon Whitlock, and that's going to be their chance to try and get in the midst of the rankings.
Exactly, and you got this weekend as well in Poland. You've got the likes of Radek Zadansky and Krzysztof Ratajski and Adam Gavlas as well. All these players that are going to want to, as you say, get that ranking money up and qualify for the World Series of Darts finals via the Order of Merit.
Yes, absolutely. So over the weekend, obviously you had the World Series of Darts, but there was also the Challenge Tour. So as we said, not only was there the PDC World Series of Darts, but you also had the PDC Win Challenge Tour. And on day one, events 11 and 12, we had a double by Christian Kist.
Indeed, double from Christian Kist, and that has definitely propelled him in terms of trying to get as high as possible in the Challenge Tour Order of Merit. Of course, we both know that the top two in the Order of Merit will get tour cards as well as a space at the Ali Pali, and Christian Kist definitely went about it the right way in terms of trying to get into those two places, going unbeaten on the first day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fantastic performance, and that's propelled him right up the table, which we will go into later. But also, Bradley Brooks, who won one of the ADC Windmill Tour events earlier in the year, he had two quarterfinals in Event 11 and Event 13, which is really good going for him.
Indeed, and obviously, I think that win at the championship tour. I think he said to you in the interview that a win in one of these events can just propel and just give you the confidence to go into other events. And we saw him qualify for the MODUS Super Series Champions Week after that ADC win, and now he's gone onto the Challenge Tour and is reaching quarterfinals on there. So the further he goes in all these competitions, the higher that ranking money is going to look at the end of the year.
Yeah, and moving on to Event 12, which obviously Christian Kiss won as well, but beating John Henderson in the final, who also had a quarterfinal in Event 14. So the World Seniors champion is doing really well on the Challenge Tour as well.
Indeed, he was very good last year as well on the Challenge Tour. I think it was a very it was harsh what happened to him at the end of last
Yes.
year when it
Yeah.
came down to it. He was in the top two pretty much all year nearly, and then Owen Bates out of nowhere comes and takes that final spot off him. But again, fair play to Owen. He did what he had to do in that, and we've from last year we also saw that John Henderson adapted to the Challenge Tour very well, and as
Yeah.
you've mentioned, he's continuing to do that again this year.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then moving on to the events 13 and 14, event 13, which is played in the morning, that was won by Connor Scott. And it's not the first time we're going to be hearing his name this episode.
No, I think, in my opinion, I think Connor Scott is one of the best players away from the Pro Tour at the minute. He just continues like that one week he had at the Super Series where he finished bottom of the group. I think that was just a bit of a one-off, but we
Yeah.
know the capabilities that he's got. He qualified. He's gone to Q School before and earned a tour card, and we're seeing now with his wins in the WDF, and he also is now winning on the Challenge Tour as well. So fair play, and I think it was a whitewash in the final as well against Dragutin Horvats.
Yes, absolutely. And Noah Van Lin, Leuven, and Richard Burnett also reaching quarterfinals in event 13. So, you've got a good mixture of talent in all events, old, new, young, and female players and male players all, doing their bit.
Indeed, we saw with obviously Noah Lynn Van Leuven's another player that's won on the Challenge Tour already this year. I think she won event 6, was it?
Yes.
And again, like she's adapted to the Challenge Tour very well. And you've also got Richie Bennett. I think he's won on the Challenge Tour before as well. I think he won last year. And again, we've seen him on the seniors this year. He played really well when he was there at the Circus Tavern. And again, he's bringing that form onto the Challenge Tour, and he obviously had a tour card last year as well. Had that
Yeah.
run at the UK Open, so he's never, like as I said, if
You
you've
never
got it,
lose
you'll
it.
never lose it.
Yeah.
Right
Absolutely,
on cue.
absolutely. And then event 14 was won by Happy Feet, Justin Hood, who probably after that will be doing a very happy dance.
No, fantastic. I think it was the first PDC title for Justin Hood as well.
Yeah.
So many congratulations, Justin, on that. And again, it was Dragutin Horvat in the final. So even though he didn't win either of the competitions, he may have walked away from Leicester a very happy man in terms of reaching 2 finals, and ranking money wise, that is going to do him wonders.
Exactly, exactly. And a good performance by new unicorn player David Evans, getting to the quarterfinal as well. He announced his arrival as a unicorn player there, and seems to be going well with the new darts already.
Indeed, fantastic week, fantastic performance. Sorry, from David Evans reaching the quarterfinals. We've seen from previous competitions. I remember that week he had I think I'm going back to the Super Series here again, but he had that week where he just went unbeaten in one of the groups. So we've always seen that he's had the talent to be able to deal with competitions like these. And yet again, a quarterfinal, fantastic for David.
And finally, on the Sunday, was won by Wesley Plazier. Again, he's been solid in all formats of the game. Every three-letter acronym you can throw at, he's performing and performing the goods.
Indeed, I remember watching him at the Lakeside last year, and when he won that quarter final, I think I was actually tipping him to have gone on and won the whole thing, but of course he was beat by I think it was Chris Landman that beat him in the semi-finals in the end. But again, he
And
showcased
that'd be a quick game between them two. I mean, they're both just rat-a-tat-tat players.
rapid, yeah.
Yeah.
And like there's many players. I think players like that as well. Like I remember listening to a conversation with Luke Humphreys, and he was saying that I like playing Joe Cullen because of that sort of style. They're both just straight at the board, and it's
No
just
mucking about.
free flowing darts. And
Yeah.
um, going back onto the Challenge Tour again, fantastic for Wesley. That's the first Challenge Tour for him this year, and I think it's the third Challenge Tour overall for him.
Yes, and a special mention to Darts World's own Colin Osborne reaching the quarterfinal in that final event there at Leicester. But the top 10 has definitely changed from last time we was on the Challenge Tour segments time. Danny Jensen is currently top with 6,000, just over £6,000, and Christine Kist is very close behind him, and Andy Bolton. I mean, he's only £125 between them two. So third and second is very close. Connor
And he
Scott has
clinched a
made him.
double this year as well. Andy Bolton
Yes,
earlier in Hildesheim, and he's not even in the top two. It just goes to show how competitive this Challenge Tour really is.
absolutely. Connor Scott with the win propels himself up to fourth. Wesley Plazier is fifth. John Henderson sixth. Darrell Pilgrim seventh. Oscar Lukasiak is eighth, and Dragutin Hovat is ninth. And then Stefan Belmont, who won one of the early events in the year, he's in 10th spot. So it's all changing the Challenge Tour, and it's still all to play for. There's nothing in this.
Absolutely, it is very close, and there you've mentioned the top 10 there, and there's some players that have won challenge tours already this year that are not even in there. Noah van Looijen, I mentioned, won a challenge tour, not in there. Rene Idams won a challenge tour, not even in the top 10. And also the same with Justin Hood, who won this weekend. So it just goes to show that this challenge tour is as competitive as how we describe the pro tour at the minute. It just goes, and anyone can win it. And I like this aspect in terms of not knowing who's going to win a competition going into the
Yeah.
start. I love this aspect.
Yeah, there's no runaway leaders at the moment. It's all very tight, and you know, you can be knocked out early, but still you've got another chance. I mean, having the 5 tournaments in that weekend period, it just goes to show, consistency is key more than anywhere in the Challenge Tour.
Indeed. And I think 2 players that you've mentioned that are in the top 10 there, I don't think John Henderson or Daryl Pilgrim have won a challenge tour this year, but it's the consistency that you mentioned that's keeping them in there at the minute because of the runs that they're having in all the competitions combined. And that is the most important thing. It's the same with the ADC Championship Tour. It's the same with the Pro Tour as well. You've just got to show that consistency.
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's the PDC weekend, but there was plenty more going on with the WDF, and it was the British Pentathlon. So it was a return of a classic this year. The British Pentathlon returned. Now, for some folks who may not know what the British Pentathlon is, it is one of the most toughest and most grueling days of darts on the calendar. So there's 20 players and they play 19 matches, 2 legs versus every player. And then they have 19 matches of 1001 and 2001. And then every player plays a game of Shanghai where they throw 3 darts at each segment from 1 to 9. 1 point is awarded for hitting the correct single number, 2 for a double, 3 for a treble, but they get bonus points for hitting a Shanghai. And then a great game, half it, but it's been slightly changed where they throw at designated numbers in turn. So 20, 16s, double 7, 14s, treble 10, 17s, then bullseye. Scoring is standard, so if you hit that segment, then you gain extra points. And then finally, it is round the board on doubles. Players have 42 darts to hit every double on the board, starting from 1, continuing until 20. They get 2 points awarded for every double hit, and then bonus points for every dart spare after they've hit the 20, between hitting 20 and whatever they have left from the 42. It is a grueling day of darts, and as you say, it can be the leader will be changing per game, per round, per dart, essentially. But as we said, a name that's cropping up again, this year's winner, Connor Scott, won. So a great warm up for the Challenge Tour.
Yep, as you said, it's one of the most grueling tournaments out there, and as you said, yeah, it's a fantastic warm up for the Challenge Tour. And Connor Scott, as I mentioned earlier on, I think he is one of the best players away from the PDC Pro Tour at the minute, and he just continues to prove that point. A fantastic performance, and there was also a moment at the weekend as well where he'd had 4 180s in a row, so that's 12 perfect darts. And if anyone here listening to that has ever done that before, well done.
Yeah,
Because
call
that
in.
is not easy. That is not easy at all.
If I don't see proof, it didn't happen.
That's what my mates say to me all the time. I've hit so many 180s, I've never seen it, so it doesn't count.
That's it.
That's it.
Who I'm sticking to. But also that weekend, you had the England national singles, both for men and women, and the England Open. Now, for the men, it was the Callum Francis who beat Dave Ladley in the final of the national singles, and then was runner-up into the England Open. So a fantastic weekend for Callum Francis there.
Absolutely. Winning a tournament and then reaching a final of the other. I don't think you can go much better than that. And yeah, fantastic performance from Calvin Fowler.
Well, if there's going to be one person that could do better than that, it is Bo Greaves doing the treble, winning the British Pentathlon title along with the England national the English Open and national titles, beating Rhiannon O'Sullivan in one final and Dieter Hedman in the other final. So goes to show, Bo Greaves is riding on a crest of a wave and he's just performing some wondrous darts.
Do you reckon Bo Greaves has taken her anger out from losing Women's Week at the Super Series to Rhiannon O'Sullivan at the England Open?
Maybe there might be a little bit of that. It might be a little...
That's unbelievable though. Well played, Bo. Well played, Bo, I should say. And winning all three competitions, that is not easy. And to win them all is just incredible. And as we've said before, Bo Greaves is a generational talent, and eventually we will start. She's just going to go up and up and up.
Definitely, definitely. I put her down as one of them ones to watch maybe in the future. So. And there was also the WDF England Open youth titles. They were won by Ruby Gray and Thomas Banks. And in the boys' final, Thomas Banks beat Jensen Walker in what was an exhilarating game, averaging 85 for a youth final. That is a very high standard.
Absolutely. And we saw Thomas Banks at the Windmill Championship tours. And again, a player that once you get that one competition win under your belt, hopefully you take that into further competitions. And we're seeing here he's winning more. So it's benefiting him going into it.
And the runner-up there, Jensen Walker, we had a chance of speaking to Jensen Walker from coming home from Switzerland and going to Devon, and we was able to get his profile, and here is a clip of that.
That's interesting as well, Coventry fan, because obviously we're both Man United fans, so should we mention the FA Cup semi-final?
No.
No comment. No comment.
Hi, Jensen. What is your favourite competition to watch and play in?
Favorite competition to watch. I have always. I'm not saying it's just because I participated in it before, but I probably would say the UK Open's always been the event I've always enjoyed more than anything, because it's, as a football fan, I always used to like watching the FA Cup more than anything because that underdog feel. Yes. And the UK Open is exactly the same kind of thing.
So there's the WDF for this week, but it has been a busy old week in the ADC. So with the ADC, it was the last week of the Vault 7.0, and now we do have our regional winners. Each of these will be going into an event later on this year. But for Ireland, it was Dean Finn Ford, who was the Vault winner for this season. And then Terry Nash was the winner for the Wales region. Then Mark Frost, Frosty the Throwman, won the Midlands area. And then South Eastern London was won by Jeff Heath. And then moving on to the Southwest was won by Jack Tweddle. And then in the Northeast, it was Lewis Whitehead. And in the Northwest, my area, it was Jack Todd who took the top spot. And then Yorkshire and Humber region was Jacob Bell. And then in Northern Ireland, it was Neil Withers. In the east of England, it was Trevor Ellicott. And finally, in Scotland, it was Scott Winder who took the top spot in the Vault 7.0. And these vaults, you can win a lot of money in your regions, and then you can progress into the MODUS Super Series, and then you can progress to wherever you want to, really.
Indeed, I think it's the top 16 in all of the regional rankings that get paid out after the 7 weeks, and then we've got the finals days, I should say, coming up in the next couple of weeks, and that's where the top 32 players will all be drawn against each other in one competition, and the winners from each of the regions will secure spots at the MODUS Super Series. So again, the Vault just continues to showcase the next talent that is coming through, and we've seen with previous players in the past, like you've seen Andy Davidson that won on the MODUS Super Series recently, Adam Warner in the past, and Adam Mould as well, who I think is playing in the MODUS Super Series this week. That the opportunities through the ADC are there, and if you take your chance, then the sky's the limit for you.
Absolutely. And on the 10th of June, they made a massive announcement, and I've heard rumblings, but it was always one of them, when can they do it? When can they pull the trigger? They've pulled the trigger. 9th of December to the 22nd of December, it is the Global Championships. I like how they're placing themselves slightly different. It's not a world championships because I think there's too many world champions, with the various authorities. But I think with this just changing slight name change with the global championships makes it theirs more than anything else. And the qualifying, start has already started with all the events going in, but you've got two of the WADC windmill tours, the top two going through to the global final. So it's not just one for the boys. Ladies can make their mark as well.
Indeed, and we've seen with that the women's amateur darts circuit, we've seen just how competitive those competitions are through the first event this year in Middlesbrough with loads of different, like Gemma Hayter, we've seen Vicky Prum, we've seen Fallon Sherrick, we've seen Dita Hedman as well, and Angela Kirkwood, many different winners, and there's still 8 more competitions still to play. So chances are we'll probably get some even more winners potentially. And with this announcement is fantastic. As you said, they've been waiting to announce this style competition for a while, and to be the first global world champion instead of world champion, it's a new title, and I'm sure the players are going to be as competitive as ever to try and get this to be the inaugural winner.
Yeah, and you add on a cool £25,000 to the winner, and the runner-up getting 10,000.
There's that as well.
Yeah, it's a bumper payday. I mean, for the ADC, this is massive, massive news, and it's massive steps forwards. I was with them when they were in their mad days, because it was the modern amateur darts, and I was there for the very first undisputed event. So I was there watching and I was marking a few of the games. And I've played in one of the events as well where they've had money matches, and you have all these tournaments, not just the Windmill Tour, but I mean, in the Northwest, you have so many tournaments, and in every area, we go on Darts Atlas, these tournaments left, right, and centre of the country. And now they've got this end game, not to pinch from Marvel, but you've got this point now where one person can say, I am the global champion.
Indeed, and it's not just the ADC in the UK as well. We've got the ADC in Ireland. We'll have the ADC in Europe as well. Like we've seen on the MODUS Super Series, the ADC Europe qualifiers in the past. Jimmy Van Schie, one of the prime examples. Bradley Roos as well. So there's going to be qualifying routes through those areas as well as the UK, and obviously there's places at the Windmill Championship Tour as well that are still going to be there. So I just cannot wait to see who's going to be qualified for this tournament.
I mean, looking at the qualifying criteria and the groups and whatnot, you've got a South Africa qualifier, an Oceania qualifier, Belgium qualifier, Netherlands qualifier, Seniors qualifier, Ireland qualifier, UK South and North. We are picking the best from the areas, where these hotbeds are. And at the MODUS Live Lounge, it's going to be a good few days of amazing darting action.
It's 24 players that will be competing, and I think they're split into 2 weeks of action. So a bit like the MODUS Super Series format, where it's players get split into 3 different groups and it's first to 4 legs. It will be the same format for the first 2 weeks of the competition. Then we get to the quarterfinals, semis, and final, and then it's anyone's game. Unbeaten player that day, and you will be £25,000 richer.
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity for players without the tour card. I mean, we've said week on week how many opportunities players are now getting, and in some cases, you're probably more beneficial not having a tour card than having one.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And you look at, and I've spoke with players that have been on the Pro Tour and gone off the Pro Tour, and ADC is just another organisation that's come about to give players without a tour card an opportunity, and the opportunities now away from the Pro Tour are there. And I reckon, I don't know if this is true or not, but if you weren't playing as well on the Pro Tour and you were playing in these amateur darts competitions and the WDF and the MODUS as well, and you were performing, you'd probably be earning more money in comparison to actually having a tour cards.
Yeah, which is just goes to show where the opportunities are at the moment. And with the finals obviously being at the MODUS Live Lounge, the only natural place we can go to is the MODUS Super Series.
So we now move on to the opening week of Series 8 at the MODUS Super Series. Obviously, we had Ladies Week last week at the Live Lounge before the Champions Week, the week before, where Andreas Harrison was the Series 7 winner. Series 8 kicked off, and it was a player who has reached a Champions Week final before that got over the winning line in Tom Sykes. He beats...
Yeah, and And there was
Sorry.
some performances there. I mean, the highlight reel of highlight reels with big checkouts, big scores, and almost a 9.
Indeed, and we saw at the start of the week, I think it was only him that was producing ton plus averages from Monday to Thursday. He'd produced 2 ton plus averages in the group, qualified as the group winner on the Wednesday. And we talk about the group winner on the Wednesday not winning the week and the benefit of playing all 5 weeks and then going into the final day. But we've finally been proved wrong on that. It just goes to show that if you've got the ability to be able to win on a week, whether that's winning the group, winning Group A, or coming through either Groups B or C to qualify, if you've got the ability, then chances are you're going to win. And Tom Sykes believed all week that he was going to win, and you could tell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was some notable performances, obviously, by this week's winner, but every time I go onto Twitter, like on my lunch break or something, it's like just something else happens, and you're going, "Dear God Almighty, what are they doing here?"
That's the format, isn't it? The amount of games that are taking place with this round robin style format, and just Justin Smith as well. He came into Group B on the Thursday and the Friday, and he had a fantastic campaign to qualify himself. And Bradley Roos as well, coming out of Group C. He didn't have the best of campaigns to start at Group A on days 1 and 2, but he definitely rectified it on the Thursday and the Friday, and 100 plus average and lost to Justin Smith still. Just goes to show the quality, and that finals night was fantastic from all players that were involved.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. A great week of darts, and what a way to start the new Series 8, as we say. So we've got another 12 weeks of darting action before we get to the finals. And if it was anything like the last series, it's going to be another unbelievable series.
Indeed, and Tom Sykes is definitely going to be a player that will be in with a shout of being the Champions Week winner. He's definitely got the ability, and he's also got a bit of a never say die attitude as well. He was behind in a couple of his games this week, but he always gave in, and he always tried to get himself out of a difficult situation, a bit like Nathan Aspinall's style of play. And well done to Tom. And again, there's still 11 more weeks winners to be announced before we have that Champions Week at the end of August.
Indeed, indeed. Very exciting times ahead. And speaking of exciting times ahead, we've got to look into the future because we go and venture onto the open road. Get your maps ready and your compasses steady because we do venture back onto the open road, starting this week in Bridlington on Saturday, 15th of June. And that is at the 180 Lounge in Bridlington, 3 Cliff Street. And it is limited to 64 players, so get your entries in quick. It is £10 entry fee and registration at 12:30. It is up best of 7 legs up until the quarterfinals, best of 9 for the semis, and best of 11 for the final. So moving into St Helens at the Windle Club, you've got a junior vault series, and it's Series 1 Week 1, so it's the first event of this vault series for junior players. And at the moment there is plenty of entries in already, there's 20 entries in there so far. But if you've got any young players that are wanting to apply their trade and see where they're up to in their progression of being the next Luke Littler, make sure you get down to the Vault Junior Series at the Windle Club in St Helens. Moving to Bristol, and Darts Asylum, run by Steve Brown, are doing a Father's Day Pairs Open. Teams can be made up of any family members, so father, son, daughter, or mother, son, daughter, or siblings. It's £10 per team, dependent on entries, and it will be a round-robin format. And that's at the Darts Asylum in Bristol. And finally, in the northwest in Wimslow at the Wagon and Horses, you've got the 9-week knockout where there's £500 to the winner. There's nightly prizes as well. This is each and every Saturday night at the Wagon and Horses in Wimslow. It's £5 to enter each event, and you can enter as many events as you wish until you win a event. The 8 winners will then progress to the finals night where someone will be walking away with that £500. So there we are, guys. That's the events on the open road for this weekend. And as we said, there's darts events all over the place, not just for the big boys, but everyone in between as well.
And we wish every player that is taking part in any of these competitions at the weekend the very best of luck.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that ends this episode of the Darts World Weekly podcast. All left me to say it is game, shot, and match. And my name is AJ Ermston Toft.
And my name is Harry Masterson.
And we will see you in the next round.